Hello and welcome. I'm a hotel AI expert with extensive experience in modern hospitality operations and performance support, and I'm really pleased to welcome all students of Europe Hotel School to your online learning journey. We are so excited to support your professional growth in this incredible industry. Now, in your careers, you're going to face a ton of challenges, but honestly, few are as critical as mastering financial resilience. My goal today is to guide you through the core principles that will help you lead with confidence in what is a constantly changing industry. So in this explainer, we'll focus on exactly that, building financial resilience.
All right, let's get into it. The world of hospitality, it's exciting, it's dynamic, right? But it's also operating in a landscape that is always shifting. So if you want to succeed, you really have to understand the fundamental nature of this environment. And you know what that nature is? It's often defined by just one word: unpredictability.
And that brings us right here. If there's one constant you're going to face throughout your entire career, it's this: uncertainty. Now, that's not something to be afraid of. Not at all. Instead, it's a reality that you have to manage with smart strategy and foresight. You see, a reactive approach, well, that can lead straight to crisis. But a proactive one, that's what builds the foundation for real long-term success.
So let's look at some of these forces: economic cycles, geopolitical events, health crises, even just changing consumer behavior. What do they all have in common? Well, they're completely outside of a hotel's direct control, and yet they have a profound impact on performance. Think about it. Economic downturns shrink travel budgets. Geopolitical tensions can disrupt international arrivals overnight. And we've all seen how a health crisis can halt travel altogether. So just understanding these external sources, that's your very first step to preparing for them. Okay, so let's dive into this a little deeper. We've talked about the broad concept of uncertainty. Now we need to get specific and identify the actual financial threats that can pop up. This proactive identification, it's really what separates the true strategic leaders from managers who are just, reacting to whatever happens to unfold.
This table here really breaks down those core financial risks. First, you've got revenue volatility. That just means your cash flow can swing wildly from one month to the next. Then there's cost inflation, which can seriously squeeze your profit margins as expenses rise. Credit exposure, that's the risk that a big client or partner just doesn't pay you. And finally, liquidity challenges. This is a big one. It's the inability to meet your short-term bills. Every single one of these requires its own specific defensive strategy.
So we've identified the risks. The big question is, how do we build our defenses? This is where we shift gears, right? We move from just spotting problems to actively building solutions. And it turns out there are three core pillars that every single resilient hospitality operation is built on. So pillar number one is diversification. You've heard the saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's exactly what this is. If your hotel relies entirely on just one type of guest or one single source of income, you are incredibly vulnerable. Diversification is your strategic defense against that exact kind of vulnerability. Let's make this real with a practical example. Take a look at this chart. It shows a really well-diversified hotel. See how the revenue is split? You've got corporate, leisure, F&B, and events. Now, what happens if corporate travel suddenly takes a nosedive? Well, the property is still supported by its leisure guests, its restaurant and bar operations, and its conferences. This balance creates stability. And here's the crucial point: a downturn in one area doesn't become a complete catastrophe for the entire business. All right, let's move on to our second pillar: liquidity management. The best way to think about liquidity is like financial oxygen for your hotel. During a downturn, your revenue might drop off a cliff, but your obligations, your payroll, your utility bills, your loan payments, those don't go anywhere. Proper liquidity management is what ensures you can continue to breathe financially, even when times get really tough. So how do you actually manage liquidity? Well, it really comes down to these three key buffers. First, healthy cash reserves. That's your absolute first line of defense. Second, accessible credit facilities, like a line of credit which give you a solid backup plan. And third, what we call prudent working capital management. This just means you're efficiently using the cash that's flowing through your daily operations. You put those three together, and you've got a vital financial safety net. And that brings us to our third and final pillar. This one's all about planning for those worst-case scenarios. Look, insurance and contingency plans, they don't prevent a fire or a flood from happening. But what they do is mitigate the financial devastation that follows. They are absolutely essential. These are the tools that allow an organization to recover and rebuild, instead of just collapsing under the pressure. Now look, just surviving a crisis, that's one thing. But the truly resilient organizations, they do something more. They learn from it.
Every single disruption, no matter how challenging it is, presents an opportunity. It's a chance to evaluate your weaknesses and to emerge stronger, smarter, and way better prepared for whatever comes next.
This cycle here shows that exact process in action. So after a disruption, a resilient organization doesn't just go back to business as usual. No way. It conducts a really thorough evaluation. It asks the tough questions. What went wrong? But also, what went right? And the answers to those questions are then used to strengthen systems, update plans, and train the teams. You're literally turning a negative experience into a catalyst for improvement.
So, after all that, what does this actually mean for you as the next generation of hospitality leaders? It means that understanding finance, risk, and strategy, well, that's not just some departmental function for the accountants. It is a core leadership competency. It's on you.
And if there's one thing you take away from our time today, let it be this. Resilience is a core leadership responsibility. Building it, maintaining it, that's not someone else's job. It's your responsibility. It's woven into every single major decision you're going to make, from budgeting and marketing all the way to staffing and capital investments. Honestly, your ability to lead through uncertainty is what will define your success. So, I'll leave you with this question to reflect on as you continue with your studies. Building resilience isn't a one-and-done action. It's a continuous process. I want you to really think about what you've learned today, about diversification, about liquidity, and about learning from disruption. Consider which of those pillars you would prioritize first and how you would actually begin to implement that strategy. Your answer to that question? Well, that's the start of your journey to becoming a truly resilient leader.